Hey, it's Kevin DeWitch here. In this video, we're going to talk about harmonies using vocal tuning tools. Firstly, if you are new to my channel and new to my videos and you like what you see, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. So harmonies. We're going to check out some techniques that we can use to create harmonies, tune harmonies, all that sort of stuff in the various vocal tuning tools that we have on offer, obviously the ones that we can do it in. Creating harmonies is always better to do properly with a vocalist, right? I'm not going to argue that that's just a given, right? It is 100%. But if you are, a solo artist, whatever else, and you just want some quirky harmonies or whatever else, you just want to try a few things out, you can definitely use your vocal tuning tools to create some sort of harmonies. Now, they're not going to sound 100%. They're not going to sound brilliant, but they may give you exactly the sound you're after. And they could even be weird, right? But, obviously you can do lots of stuff with vocal tuning tools that's not just about editing and tuning the main vocal, right? BGVs, all that sort of stuff. So let's just get into the video and check out some things that I'll show you. So let's start with one basic thing. So I'm going to, this song here, I've got what I'm calling BGVs, but it's not 100% a BGV. It's more of a double per se. I'm going to just drag it up to here so it's side by side. So if we play this vocal track. So if you want the world to smile with you. So when we add the BGV in, we get this. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. What I like to do, and it depends on how we're using this BGV or double and how loud we have it in the mix. If I have it fairly low in the mix and it's just adding a little bit of thickness to a little bit of texture to the main vocal, but it's not very present, then I will tend to tune the vocal a lot harder, because what I want to do is I want those notes to be very accurate to the main vocal. I don't want any sort of tuning issues between the two. I don't want any clashing, because any notes that are slightly out with the main vocal, it's gonna just throw everything off and you're gonna hear it quite noticeable. But what you're not gonna hear is, you won't hear the artifacts so much of overtuning. But again, it depends on how loud you have it in the mix. But generally, I will tune this a lot more than I would tune the main vocal. And you'll see here what I originally had done. I had quantized, at least probably 80% up, and then straightened, getting close to 50% there. So I'm straightening quite a bit as well. Now I haven't flat lined it. I'm not going for a full auto tune effect, but you can hear, if I put it in solo, that it does have artifacts. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Now I've got a lot of effects going on with this, so the quality of this, there's distortion and all various things, so I'm doing a lot with it. But you get the idea. You can hear the vocal tuning happening, but if you're in the mix, you don't notice it so much. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. So the ideal situation for harmonies is that you've got a vocalist that has recorded harmony parts and BGVs, whatever you want to call them. They have actually recorded individual parts that you can blend in and add and create a stereo texture. There's obviously situations where that doesn't happen and you're going to get one vocal take and you want to create some harmonies out of that. Now, one way to do it, which has nothing to do with vocal tuning, would be to cut, say, the vocal out of the second chorus and move that to a second track and put that up against the chorus, the first chorus vocal track. Now, the condition of this is that the singer actually sang each chorus individually. If they sang one chorus only and then just copied and pasted those to the other choruses, then it's not going to work because they are identical. So in regards to this one specifically, if we now get rid of this BGV, and let's assume that the choruses were flown and were recorded as one chorus only, so we really have no options here. We're pretty limited with what we can do. So our best bet here is to say duplicate the track. So we duplicate the track and we then say drop the volume down because we don't want it as loud. But
so if you want the world to smile,
it's identical at the moment. There's no difference with it. Now in Cubase, we can, up this top menu here, do some transposing and things like that. But let's actually take it into VariAudio. But before I do that, I need to bounce this as a separate audio track, because if I don't, it will think it's the same track as this one. Because Cubase, if you just copy and paste or duplicate tracks, they are still using the same audio file. So any changes you do on one audio file will be reflected on the other one. So to get a true change between one to the other, we need to isolate this. So let's do our analysis in VariAudio. And let's zoom in.
So
you could say, okay, let's just, well, first off, let's quantize it fairly heavily, straighten it a bit. And how about we pitch it up a little bit and just find a nice spot for it.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. So if you want the world to smile with you.
So let's just put it back to normal for a second.
So if you want the world to smile.
Okay, so if we now quantize this and straighten it, that might actually give us enough variance for it to be different.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
It is a little bit, it's giving a slight phasey sound there, as you would know here. Okay, what if we just moved the notes, but let's say we don't move them right to a different note. We just move it slightly off.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let.
We go a bit more.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
So it sort of works, but you do get a phasey sound. It's not great. Again, it's nowhere near as good as creating individual harmonies or BGVs. So let's just reset that back for a moment. Now, the other thing you can do in Cubase is an option here called Generate Harmony Voices. So we can open this up and we can select how many voices, reduce the vibrato strength. That's purely because you just don't want vibrato clashing so much, so it's good to straighten it out a bit. So we could pick, looks like up to 4 voices, or we could put less. So let's say 4 voices here. And you'll see here instantly it's created soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. Okay, and it has them muted at the moment, so let's bring them in. Let's take out that double track we did before, and this is what we get now.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
So that sounds pretty horrible. So what do they sound like individually? Let's have a listen here. Start with the bass.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
Tenor.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you... So if you want the world to smile with you, then you... So if you want the world to smile with you.
So not very natural at all. Soprano and alto is probably the best of the lot. So how about we just see what we can do with bringing them in.
So if you want the world to smile with you.
Now what we could also do is pan them. So we could pan one over to the left a bit, one over to the right.
So if you want the world to smile.
And then I'm going to bring the fader down on both of them.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you. It'll kill you nice and slow. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you. It'll kill you nice and slow.
So bringing the volume down quite significantly helps the process a lot and makes it sound a little bit better. So Cubase has a built-in feature. As you can tell, it's not brilliant. It tries to do its best, but it's not the most fantastic thing in the world. There's better plugins out there that you can use to do chorusing and that sort of stuff. So that's what I would probably lean towards. So let's remove these. So let's just go back to our double here.
So if you want the world to smile with you.
So let's have a look at Melodyne with it. So we turn that on, and again, we could do a couple of things here in that we could change the pitch.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's... So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
Now, the problem with just moving notes up in pitch is that not all the notes will remain in the key. So it's not really the best way to transpose. You need to transpose properly because, as I said, moving up pitch means that some notes will not be in the right key anymore. So the other thing we can do is we can go back to our formant trick and do that.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you... So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you. It'll kill you now. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
We could then pan the vocal over to the left there, and you could then even duplicate that again. And on the other one, we're going to pan it to the right. And on this one, we could take the formant up. And you probably look at dropping the volume. Let's take the read off. dropping the volume on both of these, and then we get.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
So you can get that sort of effect there. Not necessarily the best sounding effect. So the other option we could do is, what we could do is select all the notes here, and let's say we pitch it up like that. But then what we could do is we could correct the pitch to a scale after the fact. And then when we do that.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let.
Let's just make sure we do the other track as well. So we'll turn that on. And we'll correct that pitch to the same scale.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
So what we've now done is we've manually moved the pitch up, but then by correcting the pitch again to a scale, we have now fixed up any of the notes that would have been out of scale by us dragging it up or down and putting everything back into scale. So we could go the other way and go low, and we'd end up with this.
So if you want the world to smile with you.
But if we then corrected it again to D major.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
So it attempts to keep all the notes in the right key. And we could keep doing it that way.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
So if we just get this back to normal.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then
back to normal.
So if you want the world to smile with you.
So let's just correct the pitch so it's the same as the other one.
So if you want the world to smile.
With this one here, we can deviate just slightly by some cents.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
So now you start to get that thicker sound of having like harmonies, but not obviously different note values, but just moving a few cents. Now, we can do the same thing in Cubase just by actually up here on this setting here, we can just do a fine tune.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you. It'll kill you nice and slow. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you. It'll kill you nice and slow. Just let it.
as opposed to doing a big transpose, which would take it up.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you.
So instead of transposing it up particular note,
So if you want the world to smile with you,
particular ranges which start to sound a bit fake, if you just use the fine tune setting.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you. It'll kill you nice and slow.
You can find a nice setting there that's just enough off, and you can go down if you wish to prefer to go down instead of up.
So if you want the world to smile with you,
or like I had before, you could duplicate multiple tracks, have one going up and one going down. So let's say we go up, let's just say put it to 24, and then we bring in our other one and we take that down, say 24.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you.
So you just need to play with that fine tune there. We're getting a little bit of phasiness there, but you could try a few things to get that out of the way. But it sounds a lot better than what we had before with full sort of transposing or greater movements, or even using the inbuilt harmony thing in Cubase. Now we have a similar setting in here in Waves where we can actually use this shift control. Okay, so let's just turn Waves on this one. And if we go over to this track here, let's make sure we take away our fine tune. And we turn on our Waves here. Let's just mute that one there. So if we bring this in, and this time we do a bit of a shift.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gone. So if you want the world to smile with you,
so that's a 0.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you. It'll kill you nice and slow. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
So that's a good technique there to create some harmonies. Any of these plugins can do that. As I said, we can do it based straight in on Cubase here in the settings on this menu. We can do it in Melodyne by changing the sense of all of the notes, and we can do it in Wave Tunes here with this shift control. So there you go. There is some ideas for harmonies using vocal tuning tools, etc. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Did you hate the stuff that I did? You got any better ideas or tactics? You know, what did I stuff up? What did you like? What didn't you like? Please let me know. Or what do you do in your songs in this sort of regard around creating harmonies using vocal tuning tools? As I said, creating harmonies and all that sort of stuff is always better done with the voice, but you know, sometimes you just want to try something out, right? So there's nothing wrong with doing it with vocal tuning tools. It's just not always going to be the best. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments, because I love to help as much as I possibly can. If you found the video useful, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. Hopefully the video has been helpful. I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.